I am very happy
Why?
because I know someday I will die.
Welcome back, kids and retards, once again for another episode of the Downfall Network Retrospectives. This one is a dismal, painful episode that you would probably want to turn off immediately because you have my beautiful face, but also you'll be accompanied by this ugly mug over here. Some guy picked up off the street. It's just some asshole. What's your name again, sir? Stupid poopy head? What is it?
Abaddon5.
No, what's your actual name, sir?
Oh, it's David.
Oh. It can't just be Dave? Why is it gotta be David? You think you're so fancy, Mr. Fancy Pants over here? Oh, whatever.
Call me Nancy if it makes you happy.
Okay then, Nancy. So, we're gonna be talking about a band that unfortunately I share as a favorite of mine with this dickhead over here. A band called Type O Negative. But they weren't always Type O Negative. And they weren't always the first band that Peter Steele did. But before we get there, we of course have to talk about the little things that made Type O Negative stand out so much. You know, you have their incredibly weird sound, very unique sound that we'll get into in a minute here that actually wasn't completely developed on the first album. They also had weird, humorous American type of humor, not like a weird British type of humor. Finally, we get some good dark humor, good jokes about people dying and whatnot. That's what we all need, you know, every once in a while.
Music is a logical and pleasurable series of tones.
It is, but what is it to you?
That's all it is to me. It's math and science, physics.
I'm surprised you say that, because that's just putting it down to a very base level.
And bass I am.
The main man is, of course, the bass player, singer, and frontman, Count Dracula himself, Peter Steele. But he wasn't always in Type O Negative. He first started with a band called Fallout, which was pretty good. Then you got Carnivore, which is pretty fucking awesome. I know this bum over here really hates Carnivore and thinks they're the worst thing he's ever heard. Carnivore, one of the best crossover thrash bands in existence. That first album is the ultimate fucking Chadster piece, okay? One of the best albums ever, but we're not here to talk about that, unfortunately. I could go on forever about that, just at this man's torture and dismay. But of course we have to go into when Peter Steele left Carnivore.
And I remember this distinctly because I just cut off all my fucking hair because I was going for a job to be a New York City police officer. And then I realized, man, I have to lock up my whole fucking family and my friends. So Sal came over, he's like, you know, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm hanging out in bed in my underwear, eating fucking pretzels and watching Seinfeld. What the fuck are you doing? He's like, you want to form a band? I'm like, hey, what's in it for me? He goes, fame and misfortune. And right he was.
You got Ken Hickey, or Hickney, or what the fuck was his name?
Kenny Hickey.
Oh. Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
He was on the guitar, but also did a lot of the vocals. You know, that guy, you'd think that Peter Steele did everything, because even a lot of the harsher vocals in Type O Negative, they sound like Peter Steele, but a lot of the time it was actually Ken. Well, now that he agrees with me, I disagree.
No, I
what
mean, honestly,
I just said was a lie.
Honestly, a lot of the vocals that Kenny was doing, I really thought it was Peter. Just he was able to sing in that octave. I didn't realize it was Kenny. So, yeah, I think they had a really good dynamic going between them.
Oh yeah. I mean, I disagree. But anyways, you got Josh Silver on keyboards. Fantastic keyboard player. I mean, he reminds me of the guy from The Doors, except we're not talking about The Doors, so I don't have the time to remember his name right now. I'm having a momentary lapse of fucking Alzheimer's, forgive me. And you also have Sal.
Momentary?
You have Sal out. I suck with these weird ass names. Can you pronounce it? You probably can.
Dago Italian bullshit. Fuck those eye ties.
That's just racist, dude.
Hey, I'm half Italian, so I can't say anything.
Next, we're gonna make a song called "Kill All the White People." I'm just calling it right now. But this guy was the original drummer, Sal. He was only there for the first 2 albums. The band was originally supposed to be called Repulsion, but as many of you people out there know, unlike this guy, because he doesn't know metal at all, there was a grindcore band called Repulsion as well. So they kind of had to change the name there.
I was trying to think of something a bit original, and it's something cold and dark that had to do with the mood of the band. And Sub-Zero occurred to me. So hence the symbol I came up with, the O with the negative, and there's -0. But once again, someone beat us to it, and aware from Brooklyn, and there was a band from Queens, which is only like 5 miles away, called Sub-Zero. And they had rights to the name. So after getting this stupid thing tattooed on ourselves, it was up to me to think of a name to compensate for the logo. So I don't normally listen to the radio, but there was a request for Typo Negative Blood by the Red Cross, and so I was like, well, that's it, Typo Negative.
But we go into, of course, the first album where Peter Steele had actually signed onto Roadrunner Records with this band to make an album, but he decided to sign his contract with Blood and Semen, something this man would never do. I mean, this guy is so epic. He goes in there like, here's my fucking fecal matter, here's my fucking jizz, here's my blood, anything that's just disgusting and awesome. He's like, smear it all over the fucking walls and put it on your contract here, so you have to fucking put it in your system. It'll smell really bad, just like this guy here. But they go in and they record an album that at first actually sounds a bit more like the Carnivore stuff. Like they were trying to continue with the thrash thing, but there's a lot more to it because the true rumblings of Typo Negative do start on this album.
After Carnivore broke up, the record company bound me to contract because as the songwriter, they began to spell Peter Steele with a $, and they did not want to let me go.
This is still Roadrunner, right?
Yes, and so when we formed Typo Negative, we were actually signed before the band was even formed.
So you're under contract, so you just made the band out of the contract, right?
Well, we didn't really think of it like that. I mean, we formed the band because we wanted to play with each other, but we were hoping that we could get onto a different label, but that was not possible just because I was bound and they would not let me go.
Please buy out Connor.
So their first album was supposed to be called None More Negative. What the hell was that?
I don't know. Is that your vibrator going off?
What the fuck?
Turn
That's
that thing off.
weird.
Now's not the time, man. Come on.
Here.
I know you need that stimulation, but
You know what it
we're
may
trying
have
to do
been?
something
It may-
serious here, man.
It may have actually been a...
And plus, why spend money on a vibrator when you can just put a thumb up your ass, man? Come on.
We are definitely putting that in.
That's what she said.
God damn it. The band's first album was supposed to be called None More Negative, but of course they changed it to a better name, Slow, Deep, and Hard. And as you can see on the album cover, be paying very close attention to it. It's a distorted picture of me having my way with Davey's mom. Me being, of course, the
you're
pussy.
Choosy guy, aren't you? Yeah, right.
Now you have a bunch of overly long song titles in this one, which they should be that way. Let's be honest. I mean, come on. No one says, I want to hear, I know you're fucking someone else. They say, I want to hear unsuccessfully coping the natural beauty of infidelity. Okay? Come on, you gotta say the whole thing. The whole thing. But anyways, you could actually make shorter song titles for most of these songs that are actually in the choruses of the songs, like Social Parasite, Kill You Tonight, Pain, and a lot of those songs actually appear on the live album, which we're about to talk about.
That's one thing I do prefer Origin of the Feces because they simplify the track names. I do know the track names from Slow, Deep, and Hard, but I don't want to use the Origin of the Feces track names for Slow, Deep, and Hard. I think since they're different in enough ways to make them separate tracks. I think we should stick with the.
Well, of course you'd want to make things more simple, you fucking simpleton.
No, it's easy because like gravitational constant. I mean, is that equation literally part of the song title? Should you say all of that, or should you just say gravitational constant, or it's easier to just say gravity?
Yeah. Real Chads, when they say, hey, I want to hear this on the radio, they're like, hey, I want to make a call in for play gravitational constant G equals 6.67 times 10 minus 8 cm minus 3 gm minus 1 second minus 2.
This was not my first typo album or anything like that, but my first, and I actually heard Origin of the Feces before Slow, Deep, and Hard. So it was kind of weird hearing this stuff in reverse, and you kind of hear the little subtleties that they changed. And it's really cool. Like certain songs like Gravitational Constant, I love that outro sequence. That doesn't appear on Origin of the Feces, but I really, really, really love that. I mean, especially since, I mean, I was very suicidal. I attempted suicide twice. So to have that kind of just phrase it, just they are just so forward with, you know, talking about suicide. I'm like, you know, I really appreciate that. They're very tongue-in-cheek, and as long as you get it, you get the joke, it's great. But I mean, ironically to me, it's not slow, deep, and hard. There are certain parts that are very slow, but they did have that very thrash influence from Carnivore, but they were really coming into their own as Typo Negative.
So what I streed to do was to create an album that was like half Black Sabbath, the other half Agnostic Front, Cro-Mags, Murphy's Law, Sheer Terror, Black Flag, stuff like that.
And to me, it's definitely one of the more solid intro albums from a band, because a lot of times you're going to hear their first album, it's not like the kind of sounds you would expect, and then they kind of peak into what they're going to become.
See, I would agree with that, except he said it, you know? So I gotta disagree with all that. But the funny thing is, a lot of people...
Why are you so mean?
I don't know, man. I mean, fucking...
Just because I voted for Bernie in the primaries doesn't mean that I'm just some fucking loser. Come on.
I always loved the first two songs the most. You have Social Parasite, which is this man right here, collecting checks from the government, fucking not working at all, got a smelly beard. If he does work, he has swamp ass really bad, and he doesn't fully wipe his ass, and everyone's like, dude, what's that smell? And you're like, god damn it, I gotta wipe again, and now it's itchy.
I mean, that if people choose not to work, if they choose not to contribute to society, why should they have a voice? And why should they have a say in what goes on? If you're not contributing, then you must be taking away.
That's a very right-wing point of view.
Well, you can call it what you want, but, you know, I come from a background where I feel that the average person, normal people, work for a living. They don't, live off the government's back. They don't live off anybody's back. They have pride. They stand on their own 2 feet. If a person chooses not to work, that's fine. But don't go in and, collect benefits because you're too lazy to get up out of bed. I have to wake up for work at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, get my ass out of bed into the freezing cold because I have pride. And yet I pay taxes so some slob can sit in bed watching cartoons while I'm out cleaning a park for them. That's my point.
One thing I want to bring up is I didn't know this until I really started looking into the band. When they flew to Europe to support this album, I didn't know that The people in Europe did not take those jokes well at all. Like, oh, you think rape is funny? Because, there's the famous line, for the crime of burning me, I give to thee jackhammer rape. And they really thought that this band was being serious. Like, no, listen to the song. You'll see what we're talking about. It's like, it's about punishment for hurting me. It's not like, I'm just going to rape you. And I mean, yeah, rape is bad no matter what, but it's more about violence and the mind and not the body. So I'd kind of say, like, it has almost like a punk influence to a certain extent, just like thrash has, a punk influence. But yeah, apparently Peter just said, fuck this, and flew back. The rest of the band stayed in Europe, and they were still getting threatened. So yeah, I guess Europeans don't take jokes as well as one might think.
Yeah, and actually when they were also over there, they were making a bunch of edgy jokes live as well, and a lot of people started accusing them of being racists and Nazis. And we'll get a little bit more into that with the next album, with the track on there.
I don't like the idea of, being branded a Nazi. And it's funny because back in the States, they call us communists because we have long hair. It's ironic, too, that one of the members of Typo Negative happens to be Jewish. I myself am of Slavic descent.
Now, one of my favorite songs in here has got to be, of course, the first song. I've already said the long version of it, but I Know You're Fucking Someone Else. Great sections of it, but the best has got to be the ending, the catchy chorus. I know you're fucking someone else. Just repeats it over and over and over. It's super catchy. It showed that these guys were almost like the Beatles of metal.
It feels like different songs put together, like 3 different sections, but it just blends together so well that it's like, how did they manage to do this? And I think it definitely was like a Beatles influence on Peter Steele's part, where you figure out something like they sound completely different. Like they could be certain, like separate songs, but then just mashed together, it fits like a story, and you really feel the pain that he was feeling at this time. So yeah, I think that's an amazing track.
I know you're fucking someone.
Now, speaking of that, there is kind of almost a somewhat story with this album, almost kind of a concept where they wanted to make a story that was a little bit autobiographical about breakups and hardships, but not to the full serious extent as they would go on to. But this is like, the guy's heart was broken, so he goes and like just fucking ravages some chick and gets revenge for it.
On the first album,
Okay.
all right, the whole first album was about your desire to kill your girlfriend and then kill yourself. You have always had fantasies of killing yourself and killing your girlfriend. Is that true?
More or less.
And you say Kurt Cobain is your hero because he had the balls to shoot himself.
That's correct.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Is this a depressed guy or what?
Are you more depressed than me?
I think I'm repressed.
No, you're a little depressed, right?
Sometimes.
Have you gone to a psychiatrist for this problem?
Yeah, but he told me I was crazy. He told me to get out.
He did. He even didn't want to deal with you. No one wants to deal with you.
Laughing.
I wouldn't say it's like a full concept album, but there's definitely a concept there, and then they threw a few other tracks in. So yeah, I mean it's really solid in that respect. I love albums dealing with heartbreak. To me, like that just it hits home because I'm some long-haired hippie twat. So of course.
Yeah, of course you are. Fucking bum. Actually, no, wait, since you said that, I gotta disagree with you. You're a beautiful person. Son of a bitch.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you there. Mr. Metal Head that has short hair, but, whatever.
Dude, you probably smell like Chris Barnes' hair.
I think I smell... like if a brontosaurus had a period and somehow that tampon was preserved for all these years, I think that's how it would smell. Something
Dude, you're
like
so
that.
stupid. What the fuck makes you think that dinosaurs would have invented stuff like that back then? I mean, that's the Cretaceous period, man. That's some old school shit. You really think they got tampons back then? What are you, fucking stupid? Anyways, so we gotta move on to the next album. Stop fucking around, thanks to this guy taking us off track as usual. Smelly fucker. Anyways, we gotta go on to the next album where they hit a smash hit, home run. Beat the fuck out of all the audience.
This album right here is seriously one of my all-time favorite Typo albums. I can listen to it from beginning to end. It is It's heavy, it's solid. All the funny stuff is really funny. Even like some of the little stuff that it seems like Peter Still's kind of like talking away from the microphone. Like, someone get this kid on the stage, he's bleeding all over the place. Just things like that. It feels like a live album, and it's like the perfected version in many ways of Slow, Deep, and Hard.
Oh shit, I forgot about. I was introing the next album, fucking Bloody Kisses. God damn it, I forgot about the live album.
Oh shit. Well,
This
we
is
could
a
just
disaster.
edit a couple things out.
Well, now that you said that, I'm gonna keep this in here.
That's what she said.
God damn it, David. Fucking gross person. What's God gonna say when you keep making all these jokes like this?
Hey, I'm sorry, but it's like when you're hitting it from behind and she screams, "Greed is eternal." You have that look on your face that.
Origin of the Feces.
This is in fact my best side. I'm also known as the ugliest asshole in rock, and rightly so.
Please buy out comics.
We just went into Josh's studio and told the record company that we were doing a live album, and had all of our friends down and got them drunk and high and just simulated a live environment. And whereas most bands try to give the appearance that they're God's gift to women or music or instrument endorsements, I don't know, but we figured we'd just go the opposite way and put on album one of the worst shows ever. That we could possibly come up with, and everything that's happened on here, the bomb threats, the fights on stage, the throwing of bottles, actually happened from one time or another. So we just put everything all together.
To me, that's one of the coolest stories ever. Like, I thought the Sex Pistols did some cool stuff, but to me, that just takes it to the next level, and it doesn't feel like, oh, let's try to outdo everyone. It just feels funny. Like, that is just such a Type O thing to do. I thought that was cool, and once I found that out, it made me appreciate the album even more. So, you forgetting it, you're pathetic.
Well, of course, dude. I mean, why would you want to talk about an album with an album cover of a guy spreading his asshole? Fucking gay lord.
That was sexy. That's why. I bought that Playgirl issue.
Did you see the scratch and sniff version of the Playgirl issue?
No.
Oh, you missed it.
Oh, now you tell me.
Well, let me see if I could dig up an issue for you in the back. You'll like how it smells.
Oh, okay.
See, dude, if I ever get the album, I gotta get the fucking one with the skeletons on it. That's too far, man. Although this was labeled as the live album, as said by this idiot here, they also said on the cover, not live at Brighton Beach, so it kind of let the fans know that this was pretty much just studio recorded, and they just added like live tracks, them fucking around with each other, themselves and their friends yelling at themselves on stage and saying, "You guys fucking suck," and throwing bottles and whatnot. And honestly, it's nice to have this version, especially if you also have Slow, Deep, and Hard, just to maybe if you'll be an idiot like this guy that likes Origin of the Feces more, But to me, Slow, Deep, and Hard is the better version just because it has the long song titles, and the longer songs and all that shit.
It seems like Slow, Deep, and Hard was, you get your revenge, but then you kill yourself. It seems like Origin of the Feces is more like you're contemplating suicide, but then they end it with, "No, I'm killing her," and her, the guy she's cheating with. So I like that. And then also like that one final joke they threw in when they end "Kill You Tonight" is just crickets. Everyone just said, "Fuck it, we're out of here." So to me, like, that was a funny joke. But to me, having both those albums, it's just like having a different version of the same album, but you can kind of go back and forth and say, well, I kind of like what they did here more. I kind of like this. Like, they cut out the jackhammer rape part, but then the jackhammer sound effect was in there. I think it was in "Kill You Tonight." So to me, that was really cool.
And with that, because I can't let David transition to the next album because it's my job, motherfucker. Get out of here. So we have the next album where they truly turn into the Type O Negative that we know and I love, and he's not allowed to love. Get out of here with that shit. We, of course, have Bloody Kisses, the classic platinum-selling album, their bestseller, and arguably their best fucking album.
I think that was probably truly the first Typo Negative album, because Slow, Deep, and Hard was in fact a bunch of leftover Carnivore songs. And I believe that people become a reflection of their experiences. So my life changed a lot between Carnivore and when Typo was instigated. Let's just say from like 86, 87 to like 89 or 90, I started to listen to a lot of different music, like The Cure, Curve, Lycia, Simple Minds. You know, people want to call that pussy music. Well, you know what? You call me a pussy, you are what you eat.
Please buy out Connor.
These guys are like a cross between Danzig and Megadeth.
I think they're like a cross between Danzig and my butt.
That wasn't very nice, was it?
Yeah, it was. That was a compliment. My butt rules.
Oh yeah.
Now, what makes Bloody Kisses so unique is not only is it the beginning of the goth / doom metal sound, but you also have little pieces of that thrash crossover sound. So you're getting a lot of different things going on, and it gives you the right amount of everything. Where some later albums kind of give you a little too much of certain directions, like maybe a little too much girlfriend metal, maybe a little too much doom metal, maybe a little too much Beatles influenced stuff. This is just a nice taste of everything. You don't get too much of it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like two different albums. Like, you'll have the first half, which is dealing with the more tongue-in-cheek stuff. I honestly love their cover of Summer Breeze, because you know, I had no idea what the track listing was. I had a car that had a CD player, put it in, and I'm like, is this what I think it is? And I know there are two different versions. There's the, you know, version where it's like more of a joke, you know, talking about the band members, but then there's the album version, which has just the regular lyrics. And I thought it was a great cover. And then, you know, going into Set Me on Fire just fit so well, especially for that 70s sound. But the first half had, you know, Christian Woman, Black Number 1, great songs. I think those were the two hits that really put them on the map. But the second half, I think, is where they really shined with, like, the darker stuff. So, you know, Too Late, Frozen, Blood and Fire. And then, even though there's basically one lyric in the song, Can't Lose You, I think that is one of my favorite Typo tracks of all time. It just had such a cool feel to it, you know, with the sitar, and it just felt very airy and just big. It was such a great track. And I mean, it wasn't my first Typo album. I think it was my second or third, and I fell in love with that track within no time. I mean, with that album in no time.
Now, it actually took me a while to get into this album, believe it or not. I used to just listen to October Rust and World Coming Down and stuff like that all the time, just on repeat, and Slow, Deep, and Hard. And this one just wasn't grasping me that much. I would definitely say if you want to get into them, this should be the first one, or else it comes off weird. You know what I'm saying? Because it just seems like a good jack of all trades of everything they've done. And to get into it later on, it just feels like a useless album. But once I got into it, goddamn, it's fantastic. Christian Woman, one of their best damn songs, fucking Jesus Christ Looks Like Me, the kind of second half of that song, super catchy. And I always loved the music video for it, the official music video, but I gotta say, that unofficial, well, actually, technically, it is kind of an official music video, but the low-budget one that they did beforehand for this song, I think it's so much cooler than the official version we got. And not only that, but the low-budget music video actually does the entire song. So that's so much cooler to me.
And honestly, I love when Typo Negative does long songs, and you and I had talked about, you know, Iron Maiden, sometimes it just feels like it goes on for too long. When Typo does it, it feels natural. Like, it just seems like it is a good progression, and they're throwing in cool parts. And yet, Christian Woman, Black Number 1, these songs, when they go on and on and on, you don't feel bored. You really feel like, no, they're really trying to do something. They were jamming out. They were adding things to the song. I know Black Number One was like the biggest hit, but I think Christian Woman, first off, the song is hilarious. But second, it just feels so awesome. It's so goth metal. And of course, I'm a goth. I'm a fucking weirdo.
The Christian Woman video is about a little girl about 13 or 14 years old who, when she enters puberty and she starts to have sexual feelings, she's looking up at Christ on the crucifix, and starts to fantasize about him because he's all naked and sweaty and looking pretty hot up there. So when the lights go out, she lets the little fingers do the walking, and use your imagination, and you get the answer.
When I saw the video back, I was like, man, this looks really bad. After we did the scene, I had to change a diaper. It's like, this is wrong.
I mean, some of like the filler tracks like Fay Ray Come Out and Play, some of the other stuff, I'm like, okay, you can skip those. Like, didn't they, I believe they had a digipack, I'm pretty sure I have that one, where they cut out all of that and then they added a new track, Suspended in Dust. And that was a really good track as well. It kind of makes me wonder why they didn't put it on there, since, they were working with the CD, not the confines of vinyl.
Well, it's a great song, but I could kind of see why they maybe would have removed it. And on that digipack version you're referring to, they rearranged some of the tracks, and they even removed the thrashy moments on the album, which are some of the better songs, I actually think, which we'll get to in a second. It seemed like they wanted just a straight-up goth doom direction with that digipack version. It almost feels like a completely different album. I honestly prefer the original album, though, because the two tracks, we got to talk about the thrashy ones, Kill All the White People and We Hate Everyone, which are both odes to people calling them racists and Nazis. They said, okay, we're racist and Nazis, we hate everyone, and kill all the fucking white people. Two most catchy songs they've ever done, and I love the middle section of We Hate Everyone. But to me, Kill All the White People is like the catchiest damn song they ever wrote.
We don't like the human species as a whole. As you know, shit comes in all colors. There's white shit, there's black shit, there's red shit and yellow shit. And we just don't like people in general.
Honestly, that's such a fun track and such a good way to address these rumors, basically. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you're basically the epitome of those rumors. I mean, aren't you? I mean, you're racist and sexist as fuck, right?
I mean, only when I'm with your dad, but,
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I always told people, I'm like, no, Brody is racist, but only on the outside.
And the inside I'm pink and stinky, so.
Ooh. Hey, we may have to hook up sometime.
I gotta say, though, obviously the most classic song on here, Black Number One, Little Miss Scarall, which is inspired by a goth chick that Peter Steele used to date. So he wrote a song about that whole scene and everything, and there's a lot of cool sections of this song. You have, of course, the beginning where Peter's over-accentuating everything. She likes the dark on a milk-white neck. That weird shit. But then it just rocks the fuck out, and you have the guitar player doing vocals as well, and then you have the classic ending. Loving You was like fucking the dead,
And I mean, just the the bridge to the chorus, I worked with a girl who was a goth, and I brought up, you want to go out because it's raining and blowing, but you can't go out because your roots are showing, so dye black. And I mean, it seems like a lot of goth girls, they get the joke and they see the humor in it. So it was kind of poking fun at the goth scene, but at the same time, it's such a cool song. And like you said, all the different parts, it fits so well together, and they're interesting, they're fun. And I'm more into like the darker typo, but funny typo is good too. And this is one of those tracks that shows that, they had a sense of humor about their music. And it's such a great track. I can still listen to it just on repeat. Like, yeah, why not? It's fun. It's cool.
Would you like me to say something about what the song means? It's about the rise of the African Americans in North America. Black number one.
Now, at this time, Sal had actually left, their drummer, that last name neither of us can fucking remember nor know how to pronounce.
The reason why our ex-drummer left the band is because last year around this time, Type O Negative broke up for about a month while we waited for our AIDS tests to come back. They all came back negative, and so we figured, well, there's reason to continue. And during the interim, Sal found a better gig with Life of Agony.
Right.
And so he's off doing his
So he's
thing.
came through positive then?
Well, I really didn't check upon his results, but I know mine came back negative.
Then they got the guy's drum tech to come in kind of as the drummer, Johnny Kelly. But why I say kind of the drummer is because on all the albums he's on from this point on, except for the last one, it's not really him. It's just him programming the drums. So what the fuck? I guess they thought that the drumming just wasn't tight enough, but now it's just kind of robotic. But it's one of the rare occasions I actually like drum machines because it's not that noticeable. And it actually works with their sound.
October Rust, World Coming Down, Life is Killing Me. We did that all with samplers and stuff in Josh's house.
So would you program the beats and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
learn it? That's awesome. So
I mean, well, the way it worked out was like, we would work the stuff out in a rehearsal studio. We'd all play together and stuff. And then when it came time to like start doing demos and stuff, we did all that stuff in Josh's, spare bedroom.
It kind of gave it more of an industrial feel, and I believe KMFDM kind of made a joke about this, like, we only use machines because they don't make mistakes. So it could be that, like, the timing issues, because their first drummer really had a lot of issues with keeping and timing. So, and you can really start to hear that, not as much on Slow, Deep, and Hard, but on Bloody Kisses, you can definitely feel the timing is just off, and it's kind of uncomfortable once you notice it if you play music, because you're always going to hear that from that point on.
I worked for the band a couple of times, like drum tech and driver and things like that, and I was friends with the guys for quite a number of years before Sal left. And then when Sal left, I was one of the first people to hear about it, and I called up the other members of the band and asked them if they were going to continue as Type O Negative to consider me for an audition.
That's not the absolute truth.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
And the absolute truth was I went to get my car fixed, and he was the mechanic at the shop. And what was that? I mean, this was when I had a blown out tire or something. I came in for some stupid thing. I don't know. And we started talking, and this was right after he cut all his hair off, which of course, I mean, it doesn't really make a difference. But so I was like, well, you got to put some black dye in that hair, because he's like totally gray now. He's like an old man.
Now, one last funny thing I want to say about Bloody Kisses is that on the back of the CD and album it says, "Don't mistake lack of talent for genius," which I think is fucking hilarious. It's basically poking fun at anyone, like especially punk bands, like, oh, all of a sudden because they don't have that much talent, they're all of a sudden geniuses. I think it may have even been a big punch at, say, like Nirvana or something like that.
I believe this is the album that says backing vocals are from the Benson Hoist Lesbian Choir. I think so. Which obviously was kind of poking fun at their accents. Instead of saying Benson Hurst, the Benson Hoist, that Brooklyn accent.
October Rust. If you haven't got it already, what's your problem? Right, exactly.
I wouldn't buy it. I don't know.
Please buy out, Connor.
They sound a little more positive than the last record. Am I wrong as far as that goes?
I think you're correct. I mean, I'm certainly not as angry as I was 5 or 6 years ago, simply because I don't think that I'm the same person that I was. I've certainly grown. I hope up, not down.
Now, to most people, this album is October Rust. But to this man here, this man being this guy I'm talking to, not me, of course. This is October Rusty Trombone.
Oh, yeah. I haven't done that in years. Now you got me interested.
In years?
Yeah, I've gotten kind of old and lame. I mean, look at my hairline. I mean, it's receding, so I'm officially an old fuck now. So, 33. I'm old.
An old, smelly, farty fuck with a big nose.
I mean, the old farty... I mean, the farty, smelly thing that can be applied to any time in my life, but sure. Throw in the old, you know.
Yeah, but your nose, I mean, you look like your last name should begin with the letter Z, you know what I mean?
Or like ended with a Berg, something like that.
It is actually one of my all-time favorites from them because it is just so classic. Every song is super catchy, super memorable. Even the first time hearing it, every song stands the fuck out. I mean, goddamn, you have Love You to Death, fucking Be My Druidus, Green Man, which is about Peter Steele. He always called himself the Green Man. Another funny thing about the song The Green Man is the intro of the song actually features sounds of a garbage truck that Peter Steele used to drive, and they got sound bites of that. So that's pretty fucking weird.
I will say, this one actually took me the longest to get into when it comes to my favorite typo albums, and I don't know why. Because when I listen to it now, I'm like, no, this is such a solid album. And when I like Love You to Death is one of my two favorite tracks on the album. To me, it's girlfriend metal, but everything about it, all the different parts are phenomenal. It's great. It has such a good feel. And then as you progress through the album, and you mentioned a lot of these tracks. In fact, like one of the ones I skip is My Girlfriend's Girlfriend because it's more tongue-in-cheek, and to me it kind of breaks up the fluidity of the album. But those last few tracks in the album, especially Haunted, that is my favorite song in the album. Period. I can listen to that song over and over. In fact, there's a version that was released later called the Purr version, which has more of like a Gregorian chant. It's much more bare bones. I love both as much as the other. And to me, like that is just one of the perfect typo songs right I think that was the third typo album I bought. And actually, here's a funny little story. So I bought it from a used place. It's called Buybacks. I don't know if you have buybacks around you, but I'm like looking through the booklet that came with the CD, and the middle section, it looked like there was a signature in Sharpie, Johnny Kelly. I'm like, maybe he took the pictures, and that's why his name's on there. I start looking at other people's copies. No, whoever had it before me got it signed by Johnny Kelly. So I'm like, wow, that's really cool. You know, I didn't get him to sign it, but regardless, I have, you know, a CD booklet signed by him. So to me, it was really cool.
You know, Haunted and Wolf Moon especially, I love how the album ends with like these two super doomy songs. I actually kind of prefer Wolf Moon. That one's really, really catchy to me, but you have so many catchy rockin' ones on here. The Cinnamon Girl, as I said before, My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, but that one, I've always thought it sounded like a Doors song, especially with the keyboard intro.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they had, you know, some Doors influence. But, you know, since you mentioned Cinnamon Girl, I never really cared for the original. I thought it was just a weak, you know, old guy track. But their version, I love. I mean, I love the drumming in it. I love all the stuff they do. And to me, like, it took that track and just nothing, and then it made it into a great song.
I agree. Well, actually, no, I disagree, because you're a fucking idiot. Redwater Christmas Morning. That one's classic, dark song that's about Peter's father dying, and shortly after this, he's going to have a bunch more deaths in the family. Very sad, depressing song. Also, you have Die With Me, another depressing song. But my favorite song's got to be, a very repetitive song, I'll admit, but my favorite song's got to be Burnt Flowers Fallen. So catchy, even though it's the same line over and over.
there may not be a lot of lyrics, but the music sets the tone and makes it a good track. So I can't insult you at all for that. Like, to me, like, yeah, that's cool that you can look past, okay, there aren't a lot of vocals in the song, but it has such a good feel that I love it. It makes you feel something.
Well, I mean, you can't get mad at me, but I'll get mad at you. Because your opinion always sucks, so fuck you. We gotta move on to the next one here. We got classic album once again, but it ended up not selling as well as the two before it. Maybe just because they were losing a bit of momentum, but I think it's also because of it's a big stylistic change. I mean, they're going very commercial with this album. Many could argue that October Rust was almost a sellout album for them, like even further than Bloody Kisses. But this album was like way back in the dark territory, like darker than they've ever been before, because the personal issues Peter Steele was having at the time. He was really fucked up on drinking, cocaine.
There's an old saying that it's better to learn from the mistakes of others than your own. So I was hoping that maybe our fans can get something out of my mistakes. That, you know, I was a very clean person. I mean, well, not that, you know,
not
kind
today.
of clean. Yes, I am clean today.
You look like you shaved.
You know, once a month, whether I need it or not.
Yeah.
But and if I could fall into, you know, drugs and alcohol, I think that anybody can. So I just, you know, would like to warn our fans, like, walk with me, but don't follow me, you know.
Then he had deaths in his family. His mom died. He had, I believe, what was his other family members that died, you know?
I think aunt and uncle, and then his grandma was sick too, I believe. I think he makes light of this in one of the tracks.
Yeah, he was just super down and depressed, and he even resents this album after the fact. I mean, I think he likes some of the songs up, but he just, I could see where that would remind him of being in a dark place, and he kind of doesn't want to relive that, but he's wrong. And he was wrong, because he fucking died, but we'll get into that. World Coming Down, let's get into it.
Seems like everyone I truly love has died, and there's a handful of people left. That had to be the most serious album that we ever did. There was nothing funny about that album at all. But I was going through a very difficult time. But that's really my problem.
So this was my first Typo Negative album. The guitar player in my old band, you know, would wear Typo shirts. He, you know, talked about him, you know, kind of in passing, like, yeah, I really like this band. And I was kind of trying to expand my my musical repertoire, because, you know, we were kind of going a different direction with the band than they've done previously. So I went to the used CD store, buybacks. They had one Typo CD, and I was, you know, probably trying to look for like KMFDM and Thrill Kill Cult and stuff like that. But $3, World Coming Down. Okay, I'll check it out. So I was hanging out with my then girlfriend, my now wife, and, you know, so I didn't put the CD in. And I took her back to her dorm, because she was in college back then, and put the CD in. I had a really shitty CD player, so I heard like, I'm like, God damn it! Because I had a really shitty CD player at the time. So I skipped to the next track. White Slavery starts in. I had no idea what these tracks were, just throwing in the CD. Hooked me right at that second. I'm like, how have I not been listening to this band for over a decade now? This is some of the greatest music I've ever heard in my life. What? And I had to listen to it over and over and over and over again in every single subsequent track, except for like the filler tracks, like, you know, Sinus, Lung, things like that. I had to just listen to them over and over and over and over again, because every track was so solid and so great in every way that I'm like, this is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's so doom metal and depressing and dark, and you know what he's feeling. And to me, it was such a great album. And I don't even think I can pick a favorite track on this album because like White Slavery was what got me into them. But I mean, Creepy Green Light was such a great song. And that kind of had like more of a tongue-in-cheek feel in a certain way, like White Slavery, but All Hallows Eve and just every single track, I'm like, this is amazing. And I really hated myself for not giving this band a chance earlier.
Your CD player sounded like it was skipping. That's actually not a issue with your CD player. It's the first track is called Skip It, and it causes the skipping sound, and then Peter Steele screams sucker, and then it goes in the next song. So you fucking fell for it, you dumbass.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that was Kenny saying sucker, and also it's kind of based on the same joke they had on October Rust with bad ground. If you don't have a good ground on your instrument, it's going to sound like that humming noise. So, yeah, there you go. Hone, bitch.
Do you know what, though? As much as I keep shitting on your stupid fucking comments and everything, your stupid smelly face, I gotta admit something to you, man. I actually got into... Not that. Something worse. I got into Typo from this fucking idiot. That's why I have him on here. He always talked about him all the time, always brought him up. I'm like, same thing. I'm like, alright, what's this fucking World Coming Down album? I gotta listen to it. And, well, I didn't fall for Skip It because you already said not to fall for it, so beat you there, asshole. But I heard White Slavery and I was like, what the fuck is this? It took me a while to actually get it because I knew it was good. It's so weird. Even doom metal was not as weird as that.
Wow, I didn't know I got you into that band. Well, I mean, Typo is one of those bands, you either really, really, really love them, or you just really, really hate them. It seems like there's no in between. So since, Peter was in full-blown cocaine addict mode, when he hears, later in his, life, when he'd hear the song Sinus, the heavy breathing would actually give him a panic attack because, cocaine obviously is going to ramp that up. So apparently, he would just freak out because it brought back so many painful memories because he really was trying to get clean. So, and even the stuff like Liver, where, if you are a heavy drinker, like I kind of am, it kind of does fuck with you a little bit. It really does kind of put it like, wow. And then Lung, that's another one that, I mean, it's one of those filler tracks, but I think it was great because, he's like breathing the stuff in, and then you hear the, and then you start hearing, equipment in a hospital, and there's a girl crying, and just like boom, and then she's just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. So it's obvious like this person died, and it's such a sad like. I can kind of skip those, but that's one I'm like, that has a lot of impact. And I thought it was really cool. Like, it was apparently all the ways you could possibly kill yourself without, actually killing yourself. You're drinking yourself to death. You're doing cocaine to the point where, it's going to kill you. You're smoking whatever substances to death. And, I mean, it just added to that whole doom metal, depressing, dark atmosphere.
Now, another interesting thing is the song White Slavery is also about Peter Steele's cocaine addiction. It's just such a fucking depressing song. And you have a lot of songs dedicated to his family members that died, like Everyone I Love Is Dead. You also have Everything Dies, and you also have some just really depressing songs in here. I mean, goddamn World Coming Down, such an epic song. Weird ones like Who Will Save the Sand and Pyretta Blaze, which that song is actually about Peter Steele's weird fetish of fire for some fucking reason. So you have an interesting ending track on here, which is like a collage of cool Beatles songs that they really liked and just kind of rearranged to make this epic track. You have, of course, Day Tripper, If I Needed Someone, and my all-time favorite Beatles song, I Want You, She's So Heavy. It should, honestly, in my opinion, they should have only covered I Want You, She's So Heavy. That whole song would have been perfect for Typo's sound. But I mean, you get what you get, and it's pretty awesome. A great ending.
One funny thing about the Beatles medley, and I found this actually really interesting, was they didn't know, like, whenever they did a cover, they just did it, and then they're like, we'll deal with the consequences later. Michael Jackson owned the rights to all the Beatles songs at the time, and they had to pay an absolute shitload to get that, to get the rights for those 3 songs, and they were not happy because it really kind of fucked them big time. So I'm like, that sucks, because it was such a cool medley, and again, they know how to mash these things together, and it just fits so well. And apparently they got screwed on that. So.
We love the Beatles and we like doing covers. And who are the Beatles to escape the wrath of Typo Negative? Who do they think they are?
And it's a completely gloomy version, because it's such a happy Beatles song.
Slow down, tune down. We wanted to retitle it Gay Stripper. But see, you have a sense of humor, most people don't. And parodies don't go over too well. Now, if you were like a band of Weird Al Yankovics, then it would probably work.
It would probably work.
Gay Stripper.
He was a day stripper, Sunday drama, yeah. It took me so long to find out, and I found.
My favorite songs in here is gotta be, man, it's kind of like a battle between like Everything Dies, Creepy Green Light, but my favorite's probably All Hallows Eve. The riffs on that are crushing. It's super catchy.
Oh, it's total doom metal.
Hallows Eve. Hallows Eve.
I guess we can kind of end that album with that, because I mean, it's very bleak. My favorite. I love this album more than any other album. It was very influential to me when I was, playing music in bands, and yeah, it's such a solid album. I love it more than most albums I've ever heard.
Wait, this is your favorite album from them?
Oh, definitely, by far, number 1. The closest you could possibly come is Origin of the Feces, and that's just because I like the heaviness of it and just how raw it was. But even that, it's like World Coming Down's up here, Origin is like way down here.
You son of a bitch, I fucking hate you. Now I gotta change my favorite album, okay? Now my favorite's Bloody Kisses. Bloody Kisses is my favorite. It would have been this, but this fucker had to take World Coming Down, huh?
Well,
Bloody Kisses
no,
is
Bloody
better.
Kisses is my second favorite.
Well, Bloody Kisses is better. Get fucked.
You're a cunt.
You're defeated. And then right after World Coming Down, they actually had a compilation album that they released called The Least Worst of Typo Negative. Of course, they were going to make a pun on a shitty compilation name title anyways. They got 3 songs in there that are actually never released on albums before. You have really lengthy, epic tracks like It's Never Enough, which is a really great song, 12 Black Rainbows, and you also have Stay Out of My Dreams. The first and last of those were actually recorded during the time of World Coming Down.
Which is cool, because, I mean, anytime you can have an expansion upon certain albums that you love.
Shut up, your album sucks. Bloody Kiss is better.
Dude, come on.
Wrong.
Dude, no.
Wrong.
You're just a Trump
Wrong.
Come on. So anyway, anytime you can, like, if you love an album, you want everything. You want every single little tiny thing. At least in my experience, I want every track. Like when a band's like, yeah, we recorded like 40 tracks for this and we cut it down to like 15. You're like, I want to hear every single goddamn one of those tracks. Release that. Do it. Don't fuck with us. Don't tease us. I want to hear everything. So, including those little tracks like that, it's kind of bad in a way, because it's like, well, you're not going to hear those anywhere else. I mean, it's a best of, so shouldn't you like only have best of stuff, not tracks that were previously unreleased? But I mean, it was a really good best of album for. I mean, a lot of bands, they don't really release good best ofs, but that was a really solid one.
I just got one thing to say about that. Wrong. Anyways, so we move on to them trying to regain their somewhat softer, more catchy, more fun, and more absurd sound with another album, Life is Killing Me.
Tell me, where the have you been the past 4 years? Like, what the hell was going on, and why haven't you graced us with your presence?
Well, I had a dream. It was like God came to me and said I should start digging to the center of the earth. So I've been busy digging.
Please buy out Connor.
Now, with Life is Killing Me, I just got to make something very important, very quick here. Let's not forget that David smells terrible. Smells worse than any fucking garbage you could possibly find. I mean, this guy, he thinks that Axe body spray is the equivalent of taking a shower. So never forget that. We'll move on to the important details, but that's overlying message here. Never forget it. So now we're on to Life is Killing Me. Life should be killing him instead of Peter Steele. God bless you, Daddy Peter Steele. This guy...
Christian fuck.
Yeah, this guy doesn't believe in God. What a fucking virgin. The virgin
I don't
atheist.
believe in God because I'm sane.
Wow. Look at him and laugh, everybody. Look at him and laugh. Throw eggs. He's going to hell.
Why do you think I became a Ghostbuster? So when Jesus comes back, got that motherfucker.
So the original title for the album was supposed to be called The Dream is Dead, but a lot of people mistook that as being like the final album. The Dream is Dead, and it's even more depressing than World's Coming Down. So they changed it to Life is Killing Me, which is still a depressing album title, I guess, but...
I actually didn't know that. That's actually really cool. I had no idea that they weren't intending the album to be called that. That's cool.
We don't know much about anything, so I'd assume that you wouldn't know that, so that's fine.
Fair call.
Yeah. The album actually starts out with a very different song for them, especially from this era of the band, because they had gone so far into like the down, slow, depressing shit. They started out with a heavy, fast, ballistic song for them that's like super, super catchy. I mean, even people that don't like Typo sound will appreciate I Don't Want to Be Me. So you could identify with no matter who you are, even this fucking bum over here. I mean, no one would want to be that. You have depressing, slow, epic songs in here like How Could She and A Dish Best Can't speak today. Keep smelling this fucker through the Skype call so bad.
I was gonna say, what's the difference between today and any other day?
Yeah, because you're smelling so bad, dude.
Well, you talk like you got a fucking dick in your mouth.
No, I got your smelly fucking dick cheese in my nose. So,
Smeg.
Whatever. Okay, A Dish Best Served Coldly. One of the best songs on here. No one ever talks about it. I think it's like the best track. Maybe Life is Killing Me as well, but Dish Best Served Coldly is so fucking awesome. I love the riffs on that.
And it's a Star Trek reference.
Thanks, nerd. We didn't need to know that. God, you just ruined it all.
It's an old Klingon proverb. Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Making it worse, man. So there's two other really fast, kind of punk-style songs in here. You have I Like Goils, which is actually a jokey type song that they wrote about when Peter Steele was in Playgirl magazine, and he had a bunch of gay guys asking about him. Oh, this Peter Steele guy. He's like, hey, I like Goils, okay? I just want to make quick mention that there's a song on here that just has just a bunch of letters as the song title. And for the longest time, I didn't know what the hell it meant, but it actually means, if you don't kill me, I'm going to kill you. And you also have maybe my favorite song on here. I mean, there's so many good ones, it's hard to pick. Despite this being one of my lesser favorite albums, there's such good standouts, like Angry Itch. Motherfucking Angry Itch. Although it's a cover song as far as I can tell, this song has a great riff. They completely redid what the original song was, and the lyrics are super catchy, and the lyrics themselves are fucking weird. The lyrics are about having a sex operation gone terribly, terribly, terribly fucking wrong. Totally relatable, am I right? Especially for this guy over here, or this girl over here. This
It's easier to dig a hole than build a pole, so of course. Nothing really is great. A lot of the early stuff you say okay, this is a great song or album. One of my favorites actually happens to be We Were Electrocuted. I think that was just, it felt like such a good breakup song. And apparently the joke of this album is that if they just sold out and went completely mainstream, maybe the mainstream would not, really be into this kind of music. It's too sad, it's too dark, but every band gets to an age where they don't have that edge anymore. And I think Metallica, they hit it with, the Black Album. Kiss kind of hit it in the 80s, but then they kind of came back for a little bit with Revenge. But to me, Typo, it just seemed like they didn't have that fury in their heart anymore. It just seemed like Peter was too happy, so he kind of had to come up with something darker. Even though there are clearly dark things going on in his life, but it didn't have the same impact that Will Coming Down or October Rust had for me. And I mean, I'm not even going to mention the earlier albums because he was full of piss and vinegar with those, clearly.
Although Dave's right in the sense that this is one of the lesser albums, in quality, maybe arguably even my least favorite. And it's just, I think there's too many songs on it. But the thing is, Typo's never made a weak or even okay song. Honestly, in my opinion at least. In my opinion is the correct opinion. This guy's a fucking idiot.
It's a solid album. They've never put out a bad album. And it doesn't have the same oomph.
Now for the next album, they'd actually left Roadrunner because Peter Steele was having issues with how they were, running the band and stuff like that.
The record company likes to use Typo Negative the way a prostitute uses her vagina. And so they just want to prostitute us and get the most out of us.
Last autumn, when the best of Typo Negative came out, and they didn't even tell me about it, I was kind of put off about that. I mean, since Carnivore, 1983-84, I'm the person who's been signed to Roadrunner Records the longest. I'm like the grandfather of failure. They could have at least asked my input as to what this product should look like. You know what? I tell fans, don't fucking buy it. Fuck them, because they fucked me.
But he moved over to SPV Records, which is mostly based in Germany. Peter Steele, at the time, had actually found God. But, unlike most people that go that direction, kind of like Dave Mustaine, stuff like that, he's completely different, because Peter Steele, although he's now religious, was still extremely edgy,
He kind of was finding religion again because he was fearing his mortality. He did have that edge, like you said, and I respect him for that. Okay, if you believe in God, I don't care. That's fine with me. He wasn't pushing this religious narrative down your throat.
But what impeccable timing, though, to find Jesus, you know what I mean? Right before he dies,
Yes, I agree.
But speaking of Peter Steele's mortality, I almost said morality. He has no morality, but his mortality, at this time, right before going into Dead Again, there was actually all these fake rumors about Peter Steele dying, which is weird. You think it would have been even weirder, though, if that happened right after Dead Again, and then he actually died after the rumors?
So apparently, because I had heard that Peter Steele died. I'm like, I was in full like skeptic mode here, where I'm like, okay, did he really die? Do I have to say, R.I.P. in peace, or do I have to look this up? It turns out that there was like a tombstone that said, basically he was dead. It was just, they were leaving their record label that they had had for a long time, and it was just kind of a transition. It was a joke, of course, because it's Typo Negative. They always throw in those little jokes, and sometimes they're a little on the macabre side.
Josh had come up with the idea of having four tombstones, with the band dying on, I believe it was May 13th of, was it 05 or 06? And unfortunately what he did was he only put mine online. And this is a pretty interesting fact, and that is a couple of years ago I got myself into some trouble with the law by, somebody accidentally ran into my fist 50 times. And I had some legal problems, and as it turned out, my judge, or the judge, was a Typo Negative fan. And he used to go online to keep track of me, pretty much. And he actually saw this thing and sent the cops to my house to find out if I was dead or not.
I don't think any of us were like, oh, that's a funny joke. I think we were just kind of like, oh, God damn it, don't do it. Don't do that to us. That really fucks with me. Especially when you're talking about someone who's had drug issues in their past. Because it's not like, oh, well, people who've had drug issues in their past, they're always fine. No, they're not. I mean, we had, Kurt Cobain. He's dead. Amy Winehouse, who I didn't give a fuck about. But a few other people. Jimi Hendrix. People with substance abuse issues have actually died. So I didn't view it as funny. I'm just like, it was a sigh of relief.
All right, I think it's a good way to transition for us to Dead Again.
It's been a while since
It's been like almost 3 years.
It's been a while since Typo was toured, between prison and rehab and attempted suicides, murder, divorces, childbirth, liens on homes, broken bones, the plague. And so, as you know, Bensonhurst was not built in a day, so you can't force,
Brooklyn Boys.
Can't force creativity, and not that I'm creative, but normally I write songs by stealing riffs from Beatles albums played backwards. I have a special turntable, and actually they're saying I buried Pete, not Paul, which I find kind of prophetic and scary.
Please buy out Connor.
I can't believe I died last night. Oh God, I'm dead again. I can't believe I died last night. I'm fucking dead again.
To make a long story short, I wanted this next album to sound more like a hardcore album, but the stuff that I've been writing lately is kind of like Pink Floyd meets Black Sabbath. So it's like Stink Floyd.
He's wanted the last 5 albums
This
to be a
stuff
hardcore
you've
album.
been writing for the last 15 years.
No wonder they won't.
You've wanted it to be
a hardcore album for like the last 8 albums.
I'm like
Be a hardcore album.
I'm like a broken record. I'm like a broken record.
Alright, you ready? Hardcore.
Now, there's a lot of funny things about Dead Again. First of all, I don't know how, but this bum here in the Skype call, take your sunglasses off for a second, show everyone. This guy is on the album cover of this album here.
Yeah, I mean, I my beard, I cut it down a little bit, but you get the idea.
But in all seriousness, you have Rasputin on the album cover because this guy's not fucking cool enough to be on a Typo Negative album cover. So they got Rasputin. I don't know why. Do you know why they put Rasputin on there?
Okay, so if you know the history of Rasputin, they called him the Mad Monk, and he was very odd. Like he was able to basically charm the pants off of girls, and he was just a very odd individual. Like they tried to kill him. The Russian czars tried to kill him multiple times, and like they poisoned his body. And not only did he survive that, but he survived drinking more vodka than most people could drink in a single sitting. And then I believe I'm getting this correctly. I might be wrong. I feel like they tried to shoot him. He survived that. And they tried to kill him so many times. They're like, okay, yes, he's dead now because he was inspiring people to, just be different. And when they finally did kill him, Rasputin was finally dead. That's what actually brought down the Russian czars, and that's what kind of brought in this communist thought into Russia. So, I mean, these multiple suicide attempts against him kept failing. So it's like, oh, he's dead. We poisoned him, he's dead. Well, no, he's not. Fuck, we're gonna have to kill this guy again. So it's kind of one of those things, and I believe there's a line on the back of the record that says, whatever it is, we're against it. And I always, thought that was funny.
Thanks for the long-winded, pointless explanation, you dumb fuck. Anyways.
You are very welcome. I'm glad maybe you've actually fucking learned something. I mean, you're in college, but you still don't know as much as I do. So, yeah, there's that.
You don't know anything, dude.
I know more than... I know more about you than you.
You have a smelly beard. You don't know
anything. It smells like shampoo, motherfucker. I just took a shower 3 days ago.
Shut up, you're fat.
I'm fat?
Yes.
You're gonna say, motherfucker, I got like rib bones and shit sticking out?
Stop showing us you're fat.
Oh, please, you like The Walking Dead. Only fucking Kool-Aid drinkers like you watch that shit.
Hey, don't you talk shit about that show, god damn it.
I heard you one time, you're coming on here like, I don't care if she's my cousin or not. I'm knocking them boots again tonight, motherfucker.
Shut up, man. You smell like skunk.
Skunk? Nah, I smell like pure fucking pussy. You see this shit? That's a flavor saver. All up in your mouth.
So, the song Dead Again, the title track, actually appeared in that shitty movie Saw 6. Actually, the only good part of that entire fucking movie. But you have some really classic songs in here, which is really sad that a lot of people really ignore this album, especially in this day and age. It's really hard to find on, like, any streaming service. And a lot of people just kind of ignore it now, but you have classics on here. I actually think it's better than Life is Killing Me. You got Tripping a Blind Man, arguably my all-time favorite Typo Negative song. It's so different. And that's what makes a lot of this album really cool. Some of it's retreading ground, some of the riffs, but overall I think a lot of the songs are really changing things up a lot, especially that one. That is such a weird fucking song, but I love it.
Wait, Tripping a Blind Man is one of your favorites?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, I'm actually shocked. I mean, no, I'm not saying like you're stupid for thinking that. I'm actually
well, I think you're stupid for thinking that. I would not be stupid for thinking that.
Fair point.
It's about how some people go through life making other people's lives miserable, and if you're naive, you could trick anybody, and so tripping a blind man is very easy to do. And of course, even though I'm a Christian, I still have retaliatory feelings, and so hence tripping a blind man. Why can't it be you?
I mean, when I heard that song, I'm like, look, a lot of people are probably not going to like this song, but I loved it. So when you actually said it's one of your favorites, I'm just taken aback because a lot of people just kind of dismiss that song. But I will say, like, my favorite, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Fuck them. September Sun. I love that fucking song. More than a lot of things. I think that song, apparently it's about, like, someone, all their wishes come true. I think that song, it's long, and it feels like a long Typo song. There are all these little parts in there. They're thrown in, and it just feels so cool and depressing and sad. But yeah, I mean, I think the first few tracks on the album are definitely the strongest, but we have some other good tracks on the album. And I mean, it's definitely their weakest album, I think, in certain ways, but in other ways, I think it's better than Life is Killing Me. But it was nice to have a new Typo album. Like, when I heard, oh, they're releasing a new album, I was excited. when I heard it, I wasn't like disappointed, but I wasn't like super stoked. It wasn't like, you know, hearing Rule coming out for the first time.
I think it gets a lot better with every listen. I think of all their albums, this one grows the most, and it really, really stands out, especially being the last album. You have more like Jesus-loving lyrical themes in here, but in all honesty, this is arguably maybe even their most special album, just for how good some of the damn songs on here are. I mean, like you said, September Sun, that's like their Stairway to Heaven. It really is. You could make a good argument that it is their all-time greatest song. Not only was Peter kind of worried about his mortality just from past drug abuses at this time, but one of his close friends, Dimebag Darrell Abbott from the band Pantera, was actually shot and killed on stage, and he dedicated a song to him on this album, Halloween in Heaven. I don't know why it was called Halloween in Heaven. Maybe there was some sort of inside joke between them, or, you know, Dimebag was always a fun-loving guy, so maybe he always made it seem like it was Halloween when he was around him.
Actually, Dimebag was killed really close to where I live right now. I can get to the Alrosa Villa where he was killed within just a few minutes. So
I actually wrote this song, Halloween in Heaven, for Dimebag Darrell. And so that song is about old dead rock stars. And I didn't want to mention his name because I didn't want it to appear that Typo Negative or Peter was exploiting Darrell, because he was a very close friend with the band, and he was actually one of Kenny's best friends. And you know, like when you don't see somebody for months at a time, it's hard to believe that you're never going to see them again. You know, and it still hasn't sunk in. You know, maybe that's some kind of defense mechanism. You know, because the older I get, the older my friends get, the more people. You know, it seems like I'm going to a funeral like once every 3 months. That's why I'm like always dressed for it, because you never know who's going to drop dead next. I hope it's me.
Now, although I don't think this is their highest selling overall of all time, it is one of their highest selling ones, and it was their highest charting one on the initial release.
I'd heard that, actually.
Yeah, it went 27 on the Billboard, which is weird because this is so late into their career, and it's early 2000s. Well, actually, mid-2000s, actually. But, you know, that's when it's a little bit harder for bands like this to chart. And a lot of people were forgetting who Typo were now. What's weird with me, you have bands like Pantera or like Death or other bands where like a member dies, and that band all of a sudden becomes like super more popular. I feel like people are starting to slowly forget about Typo nowadays.
I really enjoyed Dead Again. So, you know, I'm sitting there enjoying this album for quite some time, and this is after, you know, my wife and I had gotten married. My brother came over, and he said, "Didn't you hear the news?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Peter Steele died." And I mean, I was shocked. I mean, Peter Steele was clean. The band, they realized, okay, this band is not going to die. In fact, the friend who got me into Typo Negative, he told me a really, really sad story. And that is that for months, he could not listen to Typo. I mean, I couldn't believe that this guy who basically I had just gotten into, had just died, even though he was getting healthy. But yeah, so there's actually a book called Soul on Fire. It's a really limited run. It's pretty expensive. I haven't bought it yet, but I'm going to. It's about Peter Steele's life, and, you know, his bandmates, they were behind it. His family was behind it. In fact, I believe they planted a tree in one of the Brooklyn parks, because Peter Steele used to work for the Park Services, cleaning up the parks. And they planted a tree in his honor, and even the bandmates, they said, this is something that he really would have appreciated.
How would I like to die? I don't know. It wouldn't really matter so long as I felt I made a difference in the world.
You did, you made it worse.
Josh, how would you like to die?
Well, we are going to be auditioning guitarists.
I don't care as long as it happens now.